Hello, I'm Vivian McGrath from beingunbeatable.com, and in this video I'm going to be talking about recovery from abusive relationships. How long does it take? That's the question I get asked all the time by followers on my blog. When will I recover from this abusive relationship? How long does it take? When will the pain end? And I thought it would be worth reading this message that was sent to me recently by one woman. She says, I need some words, advice and links. I'm 1 year with no contact after 20 years of severe covert abuse. I don't miss him. However, I still feel lost or unsure of where I'm going or what I want for my future. I had a fake future promise. Of course, this is gone, but I'm wondering, when did you start to feel really good about your life again, happy and carefree? Or maybe even, when did you feel ready to date again? And then another woman has written in response to her, which I thought was just awesome. And thank you both for allowing me to read these out. The other woman has responded to that by saying this, and I thought it was so beautiful. Good for you. Getting through that first year, it's the toughest. Give yourself lots of credit and love. 20 years of abuse takes some time for healing. I now have 20 years plus of working on my stuff, but only in the past 8 years have I genuinely accepted that many of the problems were not them, but rather me. Once I got that straight, I was able to focus on my own contributions to all of my relationships' dysfunctions. That's when my growth was exponential. I stopped looking at all their stuff and I only worked on mine. I'm feeling that I have finally conquered things that are holding me back, that were holding me back from living the life I desired, and I live in gratitude. My greatest time of healing, growth, was when I spent 3 years completely alone, dealing with a broken heart, cancer, and financial collapse. I had to finally sit still and face myself. The loneliest, most saddest time of my life, and yet that's where I was able to grow and heal. I cried and I angered out years and years of abuse and hurts. The wounds were finally able to heal. And yes, it took those awful, lonely years to do so. I'm now happily single, but hoping, much healed, and in love with my family and myself. Bonus, when we heal, so do our family relationships. It takes a lot of work, resolve, and discipline, yet the rewards are worth it all. Grab for everything you can to get help, find wisdom on your journey. Books, blogs, support groups, spirituality, therapy, self-care, everything helps. As you immerse yourself, you will look forward to each revelation as it appears. You will embrace the difficult stuff, knowing it brings release and freedom. I wish you the best. Your efforts will see their rewards. Wow, thank you so much for that. You know who you are, and I really appreciate that I could share that. I couldn't have put that better myself. Healing is a journey, and it does take time. You know, when you've spent years and years of experiencing gaslighting, which is extreme psychological manipulation. I've done another video on that, so I'll put the link below to that. When you've experienced that, when you've experienced being isolated from your family and friends and your support group, and just this daily onslaught of emotional abuse and possibly physical abuse, it really takes its toll. You know, you can't get over that stuff overnight. You know, just accepting that you're in an abusive relationship alone is hard enough, let alone admitting you need help and then finding the courage and strength you need. Sorry, I've got an itchy nose for some reason. That's really elegant, isn't it? But I'm going to keep going. So finding the strength and courage alone not just to itch your nose in the middle of a video, but to leave an abusive relationship is really tough. So don't be hard on yourself. Be proud that you have found the courage to do that. You know, it's also a process. You've got to go through grieving that fantasy fake promise, that fantasy future, that fake promise that you were given, that this life was one day going to become wonderful. You have to grieve the loss of that fantasy person that you had in your head, that's not the real them. And the reality is actually that they're not good for you, they're not nice to you, and you're never going to have that wonderful person they've convinced you they really are deep down inside. You're going to cry a lot of tears. You're going to feel those emotions, because when you leave, it's like this veil comes off. You suddenly see the reality for the first time, and that hurts. You know, you spent years that you suddenly think, wow, I've wasted all those years. You feel angry with yourself, ashamed, angry at them. You feel loneliness. Maybe it's too late. I'm never going to find love again. You know, all these emotions are going to just pour out. It's a journey. It takes time to get through all this, you know. And it's like you're peeling off the onion layers. And as that lady so beautifully put, you know, you will deal with one thing at a time when you're ready. I always say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. You know, I'm still learning new stuff about myself even now, decades later, because you only learn what you're ready to cope with and able to cope with at the time. So it is a long journey, and it does take time, and each little step of the way, another onion layer comes off, and you learn something new about yourself, and then that takes you to the next layer and the next layer. It's a little bit like drip feeding, drip, drip, drip. And sometimes through that process, you feel like you're in the darkest of tunnels. It's so painful and it's so hard. But one day you're going to look back, because each little bit adds up. You don't realize it at the time, but then you suddenly look back and you think, wow, I've come so far. And you can't skip this step of self-healing and facing yourself. And because that's the only way you can heal, you need to face yourself, because the reason you are facing these adult traumas is because there has been childhood insecurities that came from your past, and you need to face those. And when that lady so beautifully puts that when you heal yourself, you heal your family relationships, that's because it does come somewhere from in your past, and you have to look at where those childhood insecurities come from. Why were you low in self-esteem that somehow meant that when somebody hurt you, you didn't walk away? You just kept proving even more that you were worthy of their love. So once you face those things, learn to love yourself first. Heal that dysfunction that was sort of somehow embedded in the past. Then you can heal you. You can heal your family relationships, and you can change your life. And so don't be hard on yourself. You know, just the fact that you are taking those steps is huge. And it doesn't feel like it. I know you feel like you're in this dark tunnel and it's hell and it's horrible. But each little bit is adding up, and you're going further and further and further towards walking towards light. And one day, I promise you, you will look back and go, oh my God, they were the steps I took. And my life is so different now. So don't skip that step. Don't get disheartened. And whatever you do, don't blame yourself for that abuse. And just remember, time is your best friend. Healing is a journey. Healing takes time and hard work. But if you're willing to put that time and effort into focusing on you and your healing and your recovery, then time is your best friend and you can change your life. So thank you so much to those two beautiful women who I'm getting to know really well now, which I love, for letting me read those out. And please do send me your comments, any question you want to ask, any suggestion for my next video. I'd love to hear them. So I hope that was helpful. And if it is, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.